Welcome to the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. I am Joey Calvo. Check out our website, lifewithjoeycalvo.website. It is up and running, and will be updated again soon with things that may pop up. All right, so today we have Mariah Runions, and she has a very interesting life to tell. So, Mariah, welcome to the podcast. Yep. Mariah, can you hear me?
Frozen on my end.
Yep. Her Wi-Fi's starting to act up again. All right. Well, Mariah, welcome to the podcast. First of all.
Oh, I got you again. Okay, we're good.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So now, since you had told me in the little notes that you love being a storyteller, here's your chance to be that storyteller. So please tell everybody, please give the story of Mariah Sheridan Runions.
Oh my gosh, the story of me in like 30 seconds or less, or what?
Oh, you got the whole time. You got the whole. We got the whole hour.
Amazing. I am currently a real estate agent in the Rockies in British Columbia, Canada, and I've been doing this for just over 5 years now. And I'm a mom, and I still am a dance teacher, but I used to be a studio owner. Mm-hmm. And that was a big part of essentially my entire adult life until I made this kind of career change 5 years ago. And then I also, I have written a memoir that I'm working on editing, because it turns out, of course, writing is lovely. Editing, maybe not so lovely. So that part is taking a bit longer for my next step of what I'm doing. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there's more to you than that. You explained a lot to me in your notes, so that's what I'm having you bring out. I'm just the quote unquote moderator of this,
right?
So
okay.
yeah. So you had mentioned growing up. Your growing up status. That's where I wanted you to kind of bring in and go all out and explain, like you said, explain everything about you.
Okay. So I grew up on the West Coast, and my upbringing was, I guess you could say, tumultuous on like an emotional level. My life wasn't terribly chaotic. Both of my parents struggled with mental health and addictions. And so, I didn't grow up in a house where there was like crazy partying happening, but there was lots of stuff that you don't know isn't normal until you've grown up and you're out of it, if that makes sense. Or also, when you're over at friends' houses and you realize that other people's lives are very different. And, of course, once I got into my later 30s and into my 40s, I realized there's no such thing as normal anyways. But when you're a kid and you're growing up in something that maybe doesn't look really much like anybody else's life, that anyways, then you just crave the normalcy. So when I, of course, where I live now in British Columbia, marijuana is legal now, but back in the 80s it wasn't. And not that was something that people were being like arrested for by any means. It was kind of being brushed under the rug. As a kid, I didn't know that. And so I carried that as a dark cloud or a dark secret, if you will, that was like this thing that I knew made me different than lots of my friends and their families. And so when I was 13, my mom and I moved away from the town that I'd grown up in and moved away from my dad with like no notice. My mom had met someone else and she decided she wanted to restart life and just said, here's this person. We're going to move 3 hours away and pack your stuff. We're leaving today, sort of thing. So that kind of catapulted me into my teenage years. It happened the week before my 13th birthday. And we moved 3 hours away, which again, now as an adult, 3 hours away isn't the end of the world. But as a teenager, it felt like the end of the world. And of course, we certainly weren't during music in the time of like the internet or social media, right? So when you've moved away from your friends or your boyfriend, you are you're like calling on Sundays after 6 when the long distance is cheaper. And
yep. Remember those times?
Yeah, Sundays or after 6, right? That's when I was allowed to make. I was allowed to do that. And so just before my parents had split, my dad had gotten clean and sober, so he wasn't using and he wasn't drinking or anything. And I think I can't say what I know exactly the final thing was for them, but I think that was a big change in their lives that my dad had done that. Maybe my mom wasn't really ready to make that change. And I think though that it was a kind of a lifesaver for me though, because we moved the 3 hours away. We lived there for 6 or 9 months. And, my mom brought me along because I think that was just what she knew to do, right? Like my dad and I didn't have much of a relationship. He lived in the same house as us, but he was an addict, right? And he worked a lot to keep up his habit. My dad's addictions were also, there were their shared addictions. And then there was his additional addictions that my mom actually didn't know about. So he didn't spend a lot of time at home because he was either using and keeping that a secret or working his ass off to try to make sure that he could keep up his habits, right? And so we moved away. My mom brought me with her, which I think seemed like the right choice for her at the time, but she didn't really have much of a plan. I don't think when I look back as an adult, as a mom now who has also left a marriage, I realized there wasn't really a plan in place. She just took her opportunity to get out. And so we ended up I ended up in kind of some weird situations when we first left her. Her boyfriend had like a 1-bedroom apartment and I'm a 13-year-old girl. So I, moved with them and they gave me the bedroom, but I had to like knock on the bedroom door to come out of the bedroom into the rest of the house. Just in case. And then I was shuffled off to a friend's house for a while, one of my mom's friends, but she was an addict as well. And so it was just nothing. Finally, my mom rented us a place for her and I, but we were only there for a few months. And now by this point, I was kind of being like I was like a angsty, jaded teenager at this point, right? Like my whole life's been flipped upside down. And we moved to a kind of a medium-sized town to a city. And so I started kind of rebelling and I didn't have much guidance or nurturing. And so eventually my mom just said enough's enough. And she sent me to go live with my dad, who, like I said, although I'd lived with, I didn't really know. And so at that point, my dad was clean and sober. And so I lived with him for 6 months to a year. And it was a neat opportunity to get to know my dad. Because he just hadn't been a very big part of my life, even though we shared the same roof from all of my childhood years.
Okay.
And then the craziness kind of kept going. I ended up moving back in with my mom. She moved back to our hometown. My dad ended up relapsing and went on to years of kind of not really being in my life and being gone, across the country sort of thing, doing his thing and always having a rough relationship with my mom. I moved out for the first time when I was 16 and moved in with like a boyfriend that was a total drug addict himself. And it's all the crazy things. It just kind of kept happening as I was doing what I could to get out.
So you found somebody that kind of like fit into what was going on in your life. And you were like, okay, I'm going to try this.
Right. And ridiculous thing ever. Yep.
And I could tell you a story on that. I mean, I met this person. I'm dating this 1999. Met this person in believe it or not, a a actual like Dateline type in the newspaper.
Okay. Yep.
So we met, and we didn't. I didn't. Well, actually, I didn't say. I can't say I, but I kind of all of a sudden was like so happy. I was so into her and everything. And I mean, within the first week, we wind up moving in together. I mean, and so it lasted a year and a half. But here's the fun part to this. Okay. I would tell her I love her and everything.
Yeah.
But I didn't get the love. I get the I left you.
Sure.
Yep. And then towards the end of the relationship, I mean, I had a nice job at the time, and she actually got jealous of me because I started paying for groceries. I was starting to she wasn't all of a sudden she wasn't comfortable of me attempting to support her,
Right.
and she was an architect at the time. So
Okay.
I mean, so I was like, and we got to do interesting things, but it was like there wasn't much value to me with even in the family, even in her family. Her family was like really against me, and I was like, why? I'm like, doing my best to, give her a nice life. And I mean, we would have our Saturday morning fights, and this is what we call it, the Saturday morning fight. Every Saturday morning, I'm tired because I had worked until like 1 in the morning at the time.
Sure.
And between 1 and 3, and I came home. I came back, and I was asleep. I was tired.
Of course.
And so the pager. Now, that's right, folks. There were pagers in 1999.
I also had a pager.
Okay. And this pager would go off. Now, again, I had worked till, midnight, 1, 2, 3 in the morning. This pager went off like clockwork. Exactly 6 a.m. And so, of course, I'm getting up to answer the pager. At the same time, she's pissed off.
Oh.
Because this pager wakes me up every single Saturday morning at 6 a.m. So what I call and this gentleman, I can't blame him, because he was a role model. I know you explained in your story you didn't have many role models. He was kind of the role model to the job I had, and he was really important. He was a really important part. So every 6 o'clock, every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock, this is the message this is what he would call me about. Would you like to come in? I'm like, are you getting nuts?
Right. Let me see.
I just got home.
Yeah.
He says, and plus I'm going to be in later on. Like, I think it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon at the time. And I was working 1 in the afternoon or 1 in the morning. And I was dispatching, or if I wasn't dispatching, I was driving. a cab.
Yep.
So I'm like, I'd like to get some sleep. But do you think I really got to sleep? Then I had I had to clean because Saturday was cleaning day. On top of that, so I'm like I'm fighting myself on this because I'm I'm like tired, and at the same time I'm like I worked,
Yeah.
and but this was her house, so I had to follow her rules on it.
Right.
And then of course, as we're doing all this stuff, I had to hear Les Miserables every Saturday morning. The whole record of Les Miserables. So I'm like,
that was the cleaning soundtrack?
That was the cleaning soundtrack. So most of the time it was dun 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 dun. I'm like, oh god. I mean, it broke apart after a bit.
Right.
But I mean, I couldn't get around that one part, but I attempted to have her understand, but she was not happy in reference to that. So she also turned around and made me leave that taxi job. She made me leave that taxi job because of
thinking that was the problem.
And so I turned around and I'm like, okay. So I'm like, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to make money and stuff? And she's like, you're going to find a job and then, we'll be able to. I said, okay. So there was a little deli not far away from where we lived. So I started working over there. And I wound up bringing one of my friends into it, job-wise.
Okay.
And now, how you were mentioning about how your father did drugs and everything. I had an alcoholic.
Gotcha.
To deal with.
Yeah.
So she would turn around. I mean, she'd work. I mean, she worked. This woman worked her ass off. I will say that. And I've known her for many, many years. But she would turn around when nobody's looking, and she would pour alcohol in a little bottle. That to show that it wasn't alcohol, but she was. And she would work while she was doing it.
Right.
And eventually that caught up a little bit in reference to it. And then it got back to me on it. And so eventually everything was just falling apart in this place. So we left from that. I went back to another taxi job that she was comfortable with. And then, but at the same time, she was into candles.
Okay.
She had all these candles all over the place and all that. She's, and I liked them, and we'd have our times with it.
Yeah, sure.
And I mean, so she's like, maybe you should get into this. And so I was like, okay. I agreed. I was like, you know what? Sure.
Was this one of those things where people would do like home parties and sell candles?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to mention the name because I mean it's a great company.
Sure.
So but there was a catch to it.
Mm-hmm.
For me doing it, guess who got the discounts?
Yeah, she did.
But I was okay with it. Like I said, I was, doing what I could to make this relationship work.
Sure.
So I would go out, do some parties.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I was making $125 a night and all that. And I was like, dang, this is good. I was liking this.
Yeah.
I started to get interested a little bit more.
Right.
And so she was, and then of course, I had a coach in reference to it. You know who the coach was?
Her?
Because she uses the product all the time.
Right.
So, she would, come in and, give some things that I didn't bring up, and she would bring it up. And I would tell you, I mean, it was great. And so we're going to go to 2000 now. And in 2000, there was a convention in Las Vegas.
Yep.
So I went. Now, first thing was that I actually shared a room, actually a suite, an executive suite type thing, because there was a fax machine in the room and everything.
Okay.
With 2 other women. Now, being the gentleman that I am, and giving her the feeling that I wasn't cheating, I slept in the little living room when you walk downstairs. So I was laying on the couch there.
Okay.
So I was being good. So, and during that time, we started to have people staying with us because they were having problems, and she was having the, oh, Joey and I will take care of you and, give you a safe place to live and stuff. So my niece was staying with us at the time. So she calls me up. She's like, she's cheating on you with a fireman. I'm like, okay.
Oh.
And at the time, I tried to figure out. I was attempting to figure out, what did I do? What was I doing?
Sure.
I was doing all this, but I guess again, there was no love, it was lust.
Right. Which wears off, right?
Wears off, and I guess, that it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, I come back. We had a fight. Let's just say it this way. I had to have a police officer come with me to get my stuff out.
Yeah.
That's how bad it got.
Yeah.
And I'm like trying to figure, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
And in reference to other types of role models, I mean, yeah, I had a family that was really busy. My parents worked 2-3 jobs in the 70s and 80s to keep us all afloat. So if I got to spend time with my dad, I was lucky if I had a weekend.
Right.
To spend with him, because he would first be a janitor for the township that we lived in. And then at night he was a mechanic. And then on the weekends, my mother, who is 95 and still with us, and her birthday is like a little over 2 weeks away.
Right.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Would literally say, oh, he's going to his girlfriend's house. But here's the thing. My mom knew these women.
Okay.
So there was no actual he's going over there and, cheating on my mother.
Right. Your mom's just joking around. Yeah.
My mom just likes calling them
sure
girlfriends.
Yeah, that makes
sense. And so I would go with him to his girlfriend's house.
Yeah.
And so while he was like, if he was working on their washer and dryer,
Right.
or on a car or something, they would keep me busy. So I got to know more people.
Yep.
As I was getting older. But one thing that my dad, and I'm proud that he was a volunteer fireman for over 50 years.
Okay. Wow.
And he also was a fire chief for the fire department that, was close. Well, there was 2 fire departments within a mile of where we lived.
Okay.
So he was a chief of one. And so I turned around, and in high school, I was like, you know what? I'm going to attempt to be like my dad. So I joined the fire department. Mm-hmm. I went to fire school and everything at the age of 17, 18. Mm-hmm. And so, I turned around, I graduated and everything. And so, in reference to, how kids, when they have, when school ends, when they graduate, they have a summer vacation. They actually have a summer vacation.
Sure.
Who doesn't? Who didn't have a summer vacation?
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you take a guess. How many days of a vacation I really had?
Did you just work in all of the extra time because that was the example that was set for you?
No. It was nothing to do. It wasn't work wise. I was working at a supermarket during that time too. But in reference to, how, like you said, kids had summer vacations and I didn't. How long do you think my vacation was?
Oh my gosh, was it just days long? Like you didn't get to have the right.
3 days.
What?
I graduated on a Thursday, I believe.
Yeah.
And I started summer college on a Monday.
No.
I was in summer college on a Monday. And on top of that, this college was a half-hour drive from where I live.
Oh.
And at the time, I carried my fire pager with me. So when the fire pager went off, so did I.
Right. Oh my God.
And so by the time I got to the fire department, they were already gone. Oh. Of course.
Yeah.
Because I'm coming from like a half hour away.
Sure.
So I'm like flying down the highway and everything, trying to get back in time. So it got to the point where I couldn't be a fireman anymore.
Right. Because
of school and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it did get to me because, I wanted to be like him. I attempted to be like him. And he didn't get mad at me. That was the amazing thing. He knew I attempted to, be like him.
Yeah.
And so, I couldn't, I mean, it upsets me once in a while about it, but at the same time, I attempted to be like him. It was interesting because of all the traveling I did in reference to it. And I mean, I did actually get on some calls, but I didn't actually go out there and really face fire itself because, being the, last people, you're like in that last part where you're bringing like up the rear and you're sitting as backup.
Right. You're kind of the support. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it was interesting. I enjoyed it. It was a challenge, but it was worth it. And then another thing that I could say, and I'm apologizing that I'm taking this away from you.
No, I'm so interested to hear it.
is that I loved math. Oh my God, I'm a math nerd.
Okay.
I could turn around and play with numbers all day in my head. And so um, I just actually brought this story up a couple podcasts ago. In 8th grade, everybody, the advanced classes. I was in the advanced classes. So I was actually starting to take algebra, in 8th grade.
Yeah.
And everybody was still doing, the basic math and so on.
Sure.
So I kind of bombed in algebra in 8th grade.
Okay.
So freshman year of high school, I took it again. Well, it got to the point, and here we go again. God rest her soul. But she was like the friend I had working in a deli. She actually drank too. This is a high school algebra teacher. This is a high school math teacher. So I could understand the stress of it.
Yeah.
So I turned around and I said, you know what? She let me teach the class. She literally let me teach this class. And I'll tell you, the first time I did it, and this still feels like yesterday. And this is 1986. Okay. One of the students, one of my fellow classmates, took their algebra book, wham, right at me.
No.
Literally hit me in the chest with the math book.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I could understand why that happened, because I wasn't kind of the in thing at the time.
Sure.
I was one of those people that didn't feel accepted.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now you're teaching math.
What?
And now you're teaching math to your peers.
I was teaching math to my peers a couple times. This wasn't just one time. I did it I don't know, 5-6 times.
Wow.
Because she was like, you know what? You do it. She was just like fed up. She was like, you do it. And so I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So, but they wind up passing the class.
Yeah.
And of course, I was getting A's, so it didn't matter to me.
Right.
Because, in reference to it, not just because I was teaching the class, because, of course, the work itself.
Yeah.
So eventually down the line, that little bond of, you're nobody, but eventually you become a somebody towards the end in reference to it. And so, and then some of them came up and, kind of thanked me for helping them.
Right. Especially if they got better marks because of the way you were teaching it.
Yeah. So then I turned around and we're dating past that. Let's say 92, 93. I actually was a substitute teacher for the schools I went to.
Oh, you're kidding.
I'm not kidding. And there is one day, oh my God. This is definitely like yesterday. I walked into this class and as I'm looking at the students, one of them was my own nephew. So my nephew is like this. Like trying to hide.
Sure.
And everybody's looking at him like, what? And he turned around. He says, that's my uncle.
Right. He made it worse for himself for sure.
He made it worse. No, it actually became interesting because instead of being called Mr. Calvo at the time, it was Eddie's uncle. And so literally the class really got a really pass of what was supposed to be done for the day.
Right.
And so it was fun. But it got there were some classes that weren't like that. To the point where I was like pissed off, and I literally one day just like slammed my hand on a desk.
I think being a substitute teacher is a pretty hard gig for sure.
Yeah. And so because of that ended it.
Right.
But I will say it was fun. And believe it or not, some of those teachers are on my Facebook friends list still.
Right. Love it.
37 years after graduating high school.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So I've had my share in reference to it. And then in reference to, like I said, in reference to relationships, you find somebody that you think you want to spend the rest of your life with, and they wind up cheating. Every relationship I had cheated on me.
Oh.
And I, like you said, a majority of the time I attempted to figure out why. What did I do? And I was blaming me. I wasn't blaming them. I was blaming me. Yeah. And I wind up being diagnosed with anxiety and depression in 2009. Now, I can say I'm glad you didn't go through this, but I actually went through this twice.
Oof.
I actually attempted to commit suicide.
I'm sorry.
And I've mentioned it on this podcast before.
Yeah.
So, first one was in 2012. Now, I had made a mistake in my life that cost me a lot. And my ex-wife was cheating as well. I was married. And I should have caught it before, but she actually cheated on the boyfriend she was with at the time with me.
Okay.
So I should have caught that.
Right.
But, I'm thinking, okay, she thinks I'm better than he is.
Right. Yep.
Well, and I vowed to, be a good guy to. Well, here's what happens when you have someone who turns around to you and says, what's yours is mine and what's mine is mine. As soon as you're in a relationship with this person, I would turn around. As a matter of fact, there was one night I was at my brother's house. And I'm downstairs in the basement with my older niece and her boyfriend at the time. We're sitting there hanging out. And all of a sudden I threw up, and when I threw up, I threw my back out.
Oh no. Okay.
So my niece, who's about 16, 17 at the time,
okay,
took a bowling ball and tried to roll it across my back. Didn't help.
To help you?
To help me.
Okay.
Didn't work.
Yeah, no doubt.
So now, I'm living in Jersey at the time.
Okay.
So I called her up, and I said, listen, I'm going to the hospital. My back's out. She's like, yeah. You're coming to get me. She made me drive out to Philadelphia to come get her, to come back to New Brunswick.
Oh, my goodness.
To go to the hospital. And then she stayed with me in Jersey. And her father got to the point where, like, if you're gonna do this again, don't come back home.
Okay.
This was to her. So I'm like, okay. So we wind up living together. We were married within 3 months because I proposed right after that happened.
Oh my gosh.
Because I was like, you know what? I'm not waiting any longer. and this was an interesting reason of doing it. So we got married 3 months later.
Okay.
2 months later. Yeah, 2 months later. So when we had the ceremony, do you think her family showed up?
Oh no.
Nope. Do you want to know why her family didn't show up?
Why?
She didn't tell them.
Oh.
My family was there in full force.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
you know, my best friend and his wife were, maid of honor and best man and stuff.
Yeah.
So and not only did we get married where I grew up, we got married by the judge.
Okay.
Of where I grew up. So this was very interesting in reference to it.
Yeah.
So long story short, she starts cheating on me not long after.
Okay. Yeah.
And to the point where she wanted a separation. I'm like, well, where am I going to go? You practically took me away from everything.
Yeah, sure.
In a way. She didn't care. She was like, you're going to find something. But what happened is one thing led to another. I made a mistake in my life that I don't talk about. And it took us 15 years to get divorced. We were finalized in December of last year.
Wow.
But let me get to these questions. The podcast has the number one fan, number one supporter, and real life superheroine, and was really interested in Mariah. Her name is American Fox.
Yeah.
And so, first question that she had for you, and let's just bring that up. All right. So the first question she had for you was, what dances, and we didn't really talk much about it. What dances were your favorite to teach?
Yeah, I still get to teach them actually, because I teach dance once a week now just to kind of fill my bucket, not really as a, it's not when you compare dance and real estate, the income streams are pretty different. So I just teach dance now once a week to fill my creative bucket. And I teach musical theater and tap, and those are my two favorites. I teach jazz still too, but musical theater is by far my favorite, because you get to, sing and dance and be goofy and be all over the place. And it's always fun. And I love encouraging the kids I teach. I kind of always say, like, if you're not willing to act like a complete idiot, then you're not going to do very well on stage.
Right. Okay. Yeah. All right. So the next question she has for you is, what is the most challenging part of real estate, and how do you accomplish the goal to overcome the obstacle?
Yeah. I think budgeting as a realtor can be quite difficult, because it can be very feast or famine, right? To make sure that when things are really busy and the money is flowing, that you remind yourself that you really need to tuck a fair bit of that away for the months where it isn't flowing. Where I live, there's a lot of snow. We live in a ski town. And it's not like sales go completely flat in the wintertime, but they definitely are, you're half as many compared to the spring and summer months. So that's a big part of it. I think I really enjoy people, and communications is quite easy for me. So it was actually my ex-husband that nudged me in the direction of real estate. I'd owned my dance studio for years, and he was like, this could be something you could do really well at. You like people, you're good on your computer, you like marketing and all that sort of stuff. So I find real estate fairly easy. The hardest part is budgeting for when things are quiet, especially because I'm now on my own now, right? I'm a sole income. I'm just on my own for income. So there's no leaning on someone else who's bringing money in to be able to take care of the bills.
And the other thing, I kind of question is, you have a customer comes in and wants to sell their house. How do you set up a budget to sell that house?
Well, I think lots of realtors There's lots of different I've never thought about this. There's lots of different tiers in what different realtors offer. And so there's some people out there that that do well in real estate, and they've been doing it for a long time, and they'll grab their iPhone and they go snap pictures with their iPhone and throw that onto, realtor.com or the MLS and put up, a small minimal write-up that's half as long as it could be, for your character count or whatever. And, some of those people do fine. Where I think naturally just who I am as a human, I feel like I'm always feel the need to go over and above to the best of my ability. And because I find marketing really interesting. So for me, when you're investing your money into a new listing, it is your investment personally. And I don't want to say a gamble, but it can be a bit of a gamble, right? Because you don't know that house is going to sell, right? So you're paying, like I pay more than one professional photographer to come in for different types of photography.
Right.
And I do print advertising that lots of other people don't do. So there isn't a specific budget for me. There's like a task list that I work through to make sure I'm always providing those things. So whether you're selling a mobile home or whether you're selling, $2 million home, I'm doing the same things, because the last thing I would want was someone to feel like they, that they didn't get all of me because they didn't have a pricey home to sell.
Okay. Well, one thing about me is I love going to you want to talk about a gamble. My life is a gamble.
Okay.
Because I love going to the casinos.
Yeah.
And I love playing the slot machines. And everybody's heard this so many times. And there's even times, if you ever get a chance to watch some of the past episodes.
Yeah.
Usually my year-end podcasts, or even sometimes I have, or when I do have guests, I've done them from an Atlantic City hotel.
Right.
I've done it from casino hotel. Literally.
Yeah.
Because what I normally do is I'll go out there, and yes, I'm going to give my secret again to those that have watched this podcast too many times. I would go to the casinos late at night.
Okay.
And here's why I go late at night. Now, earlier I mentioned how, I made a mistake in my life. So when I go, I kind of don't, I'm kind of like that antisocial person.
Okay.
So when I go, and I'll get there 12:30 in the morning, depends on which casino I go to and what day of the week.
Sure.
It's emptied. There's practically not many people in the casino at all. So you get a better chance of winning sometimes too.
Okay.
In reference to it. Now, I build up the points, and then I turn around and I wind up getting a room for 2 nights, 3 nights. This year-end podcast, to give people an idea, no, I did not get any free rooms off of this. But I'm actually staying there for 5 nights.
Oh, wow.
Because of the mistake, I kind of lost my family.
Okay.
So this is what I do for Christmas, is I go to Lake City, and usually I'm depressed as hell. But this year might be a little different in reference to it. But it's my getaway, and like I said, I do a year-end podcast there. As of right now, it's going to be done Christmas Eve.
Cool.
In reference to it, time to be determined. All right. So question number 3 from American Fox is this: Do you personally prefer a lakefront home, ski chalet, mountain cabin, etc.?
I definitely choose to live in the mountains. I have a bit of like a love affair with the mountains, but having said that, we do have lots of lakes nearby. Yep. So I think for me, lakefront home, ski chalet, or mountain cabin. Can I say none of the above?
That's not what you actually said before.
Yeah, okay. Tell me what I said before.
You already said it, though. You did say it. Was the mountains.
Yeah.
You did say the mountains to her.
Yeah.
in reference to that answer.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned about that you would take the mountain view over the water anytime.
Yep.
Because of the lakes and the lakes in the Rockies, and you never complain when you're showing a lakefront home.
Yes, that's true. I mean, no one says no to being around the water, right? It's still lovely. That's for sure.
Let's just say it this way, Mariah. You would hate me then.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. Because what those free rooms that I get,
yeah,
a majority of the time, guess what I normally would ask for?
What?
An ocean view.
Oh, yes. Well,
to especially because I always wanted to tell that special someone that they're just as beautiful as the ocean, and just hold them tight, as looking at the ocean.
Yep.
And be that romantic person that I miss being.
Yes. When my ex-husband proposed to me, it was at the ocean as the sun was setting. So I got that. It is beautiful.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the, like I said, that's the thing I enjoy the most is if I have a room, it has to be an ocean view.
Right.
Or if I'm on the marina, at least the bay where I can see the bay and the ocean connect.
Sure.
And it's only one hotel that does that. But the last time I actually got the back bay. So I was lucky. So last question from American Fox is this. What inspires your writing topics?
So I my memoir that I've written it's a memoir, so my story. But I also write almost daily, more days than not. I journal and I write. I do some kind of channeling when I do writing, but I don't think I have the time to tell you guys about that right now. But so I write a lot. I write to process my feelings, but the stuff that I kind of put out into the world, or I'm putting out into the world, my manuscript for my memoir, that's my story. And in that, my hope or my intention is to kind of inspire other people to remind themselves, you can do anything. You can come from like the shittiest shit. You can, if you keep working at it. And
just to let you know, we do have to watch the language.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. I mean, I have no problem making a notation. There will be some foul language.
Right. I didn't even realize. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's all right. No, it's all right. You didn't know. And I should have warned you ahead of time. Yeah. So it's my fault too. Yeah. But continue on.
Yeah, so you can come from a dumpster fire, if you will, and if you kind of keep. It's not like I made all the best decisions always by any means. Like there's loads of mistakes in my life. It's not like my story is like some this is how you do life perfectly. Not even close. But that if you kind of keep trying and keep working toward it and kind of have a bit of an idea of what your end goal is for your life or the partway through goal, right? Then I think that you can get through the stuff and figure things out and be happy. And that's the writing that I'm kind of putting out into the world.
Okay. So we have a couple minutes left. So the main question that comes down to now is, where do we see Mariah in 5 years?
In 5 years. Well, I would like to say, as you talked about your long, drawn-out divorce, I would like my divorce to be finalized in less than 5 years. That would be ideal. It's like it's this terrible time of purgatory when you're waiting for everything to happen, right? So that and in turn, that would then allow me to be able to buy a piece of land, and I'm on a mission to build a house. I've been on a mission to build a house forever, for as long as I can remember. I started designing my home when I was a little kid, and that's a big thing. And then having my book published, and I would say within 5 years, probably a second book published too. I've got lots of words to come up.
Okay, and probably want to continue the dancing and the real estate, of course.
Yeah, I mean, if in a perfect world, my books would do the things that would allow me to continue just kind of sharing my story and speaking and inspiring and helping other people. And then in turn, I probably, if I could, probably do a little bit less real estate. Not that I'm trying to push real estate away, but it's something that takes up a lot of your time, and it's not a creative passion of mine.
Right.
And yeah, I'm sure I will always, in some capacity, teach them dancing. I have 3 daughters and they all dance, and dance will always be a part of our lives. Yeah.
Yeah. One piece of advice I will give you about divorce is this. When I filed for my divorce, okay, actually it was in 2020. It was actually Thanksgiving 2023 is when I actually filed the divorce.
Sure.
Now, she wanted nothing out of me. I mean, because there was really nothing between us that we would want. And, well, actually, I'm a cat lover. So when I had made my mistake and was away for a little bit, when I came back, my cat still was interested in me, would still, be happy to see me.
Yeah.
But do you think I owned the cat anymore?
Oh.
She turned around. She said, "This is my cat now." But no, and I understood why. I understood because I was not around for 10 months for this cat.
Sure.
We got him as a kitten. And when we got him as a kitten, this was supposed to, it took 5 years at least to even get a cat in this house, because my in-laws, God rest their souls, had dachshunds, 2 dachshunds.
Mm-hmm.
So to get a cat was like fighting tooth and nail.
Right.
In reference to it. So when I finally got the okay for the cat, she named it. She was like, Boots. I was like, this is supposed to be my cat. And she turned around. She literally told me that this cat was actually enjoying her more. Make a long story short, her coworker at the time found a kitten, had me go pick up this kitten, and so the kitten became mine.
Okay.
So, but the one thing that they both enjoyed, and she got jealous about, in reference to it, and we have a minute left for me to say this, is they loved when I opened up the door, they loved looking outside the door. So I would hold each one of them outside the door. Sure. I even took them outside the door, and they actually stayed in my arms.
Aww.
And just was like watching all the traffic going by.
Right.
But Mariah, you are welcome to come back on this podcast anytime.
Thank you.
And I had a great time. And like I said, hopefully, you come back on. We'll chat some more. Maybe there may be some interesting more tidbits that you might want to share, or even that your books came out.
Yeah.
And who knows?
Absolutely.
Maybe. Make a long story short. Bringing Mariah to a meet and greet with American Fox, I think that would be perfect. I mean,
sounds fun to me.
Yeah. And I mean, you two can meet each other and chat and have your girl talk and all that jazz, and sign autographs and make a little extra money on top of it doing it. But like I said, might be a good idea. Who knows? But Mariah, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. Like I said, you're welcome to come back. And thank you everybody for watching the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. God bless you all.